Max had always been different. Not because he was a special child in the traditional sense, but because he had been born into a world he couldn't see. Blindness had been with him since birth, a condition he would never outgrow, no matter how many doctors his parents consulted, or how many specialists they saw. Max would never know what it was like to look into someone's face and see the color of their eyes, the shape of their smile. He would never know the beauty of a sunset, the pattern of stars in the sky, or the wonder of a rainbow stretching across the sky after a summer storm. Yet, despite the vastness of the world Max could not see, there was something about him that radiated hope. A quiet confidence. A sense of wonder that shone through his other senses, all the things he could hear, feel, and touch. Max had learned to navigate the world with an intuition few could understand. But it wasn't easy. Every day was a struggle, a constant effort to keep from tripping, falling, or losing his way. Max's parents did everything they could to help. They installed handrails along the walls of their home, they helped him memorize the layout of their neighborhood, and they enrolled him in special schools that could teach him to read with his fingers. But despite all of their love and effort, there was still a gap between Max and the world around him. It wasn't until Max was 7 years old that his parents decided to take a step they hoped would change everything. They decided to get him a guide dog. The decision came after much thought and discussion, but ultimately, Max's parents knew it was time for him to have a companion who would offer more than just guidance. They wanted him to have a friend, a partner who would walk beside him, give him confidence, and allow him to experience life in a way he never had before. The day they brought Samson home was one Max would never forget. Samson wasn't just any dog. He was a big golden retriever with soft, curly fur that seemed to glow in the sunlight. He had been specially trained as a guide dog, and when Max first met him, he could feel the calm energy radiating from the dog's body. Samson wasn't like other dogs Max had met. He wasn't wild, excitable, or jumpy. He was patient, calm, and attentive, as though he understood the responsibility he was about to take on. The first time Max held Samson's leash, the bond was instant. Samson nudged his head against Max's hand, as if greeting him with a quiet, unspoken promise. Max could feel the gentle power in the dog's body, the strength that he would need to carry out his role as Max's guide. Samson quickly learned how to navigate the world with Max. He didn't just guide him through busy streets, crowds, or the neighborhood park. He became Max's protector, his confidant, and his best friend. One of the first things Max learned was how to trust Samson with his life. As a blind child, Max had to rely on his other senses to interpret the world around him. He learned how to listen carefully, to feel the vibrations in the ground, to sense the sounds that indicated danger. But with Samson, Max learned to let go of the constant worry that he would get lost or hurt. Samson's steady presence was always there, guiding him through the world with subtle tugs on the leash and a series of low, gentle barks when danger was near. If Max needed to cross a street, Samson would stop at the curb, wait for the signal, and then carefully guide Max across when it was safe. If there was an obstacle ahead, Samson would veer off to the side, leading Max around it with the quiet assurance of a dog who knew exactly what was needed. Over the next few years, Max and Samson became inseparable. Everywhere Max went, Samson was there beside him. The two of them seemed to understand each other in a way no one else could. Samson's sense of responsibility was so profound that it went beyond the typical duties of a guide dog. He began to understand Max's moods, his feelings, and his needs in ways that Max's family and friends could not. On days when Max was feeling down or frustrated, Samson would nudge his head against Max's leg, offering comfort without a word. On days when Max felt anxious or scared, Samson would stay close, never leaving his side, providing the kind of unspoken support Max didn't even have to ask for. Max's parents couldn't believe the transformation they saw in their son. Before Samson, Max had been hesitant to explore new places or try new activities. He had often felt like he was trapped in a world of darkness, unable to truly connect with the people around him. But with Samson, everything changed. Max began to embrace the world in a way he never had before. He was confident, brave, and more willing to try new things. Samson wasn't just a dog to Max, he was a bridge to the world. Then one day something happened that would test their bond like never before. Max and Samson were at the park as they often were on weekends. Max was playing with a ball and Samson was beside him, keeping watch. Max had learned how to play catch using the sound of the ball hitting the ground to guide him. He could throw the ball in a straight line and Samson would run after it, bringing it back every time. That day, however, something went wrong. As Max threw the ball toward a tree, the ball bounced in an unexpected direction, landing in a busy street beyond the park. Max, without thinking, reached for the ball and started walking toward the street. Samson, sensing the danger, rushed forward to stop him. But it was too late. As Max approached the street, a car came speeding around the corner. In that instant, Samson did what he had been trained to do. He threw himself in front of Max, pushing him out of the way just in time. The car swerved, but Samson was hit. Max's world turned upside down. He heard the screech of the tires, the cries of people around him, and the sound of Samson's low whine. His heart raced as he felt Samson's body crumple to the ground beneath him. He didn't understand exactly what had happened, but he knew something was terribly wrong. The world seemed to stop. Max's hands shook as he tried to call for help, but the only thing he could feel was the warm, steady presence of Samson still by his side. Despite the pain, despite the chaos, Samson was still there, doing what he had always done, protecting Max with everything he had. Within minutes, paramedics arrived, and they rushed Samson to the emergency clinic. Max, his heart heavy with fear and worry, stayed by Samson's side the entire time. He held the dog's head in his lap, whispering softly to him, telling him it would be okay, even though he didn't know if it would be. Samson was in critical condition, and the doctors did everything they could to stabilize him. Max's parents stayed by his side, reassuring him, but no one knew if Samson would make it through the night. As the hours passed, Max couldn't help but wonder what his life would be like without his beloved guide dog. How could he face the world without Samson? How could he continue to navigate a world full of dangers and obstacles without the one companion who had always been there? But then, something miraculous happened. After a tense night of waiting, the doctor came in with good news. Samson had made it through. The injury was severe, but Samson had fought through it with everything he had. His recovery would take time, but the bond between Max and his dog had proven stronger than anyone could have imagined. Samson was not just a dog, he was a hero. He had given everything to protect Max, and in doing so he had saved his life. Weeks later, when Max was finally able to bring Samson home from the clinic, the joy that filled the house was indescribable. Samson was still recovering, his movements slower and more careful than they had been before, but he was there beside Max once more. Max hugged his dog tightly, tears streaming down his face as he whispered, "Thank you, Samson. You saved me." And in that moment, Samson, still weak but still with Max, looked up at him, his eyes full of love and devotion. Max knew in that instant that he would never be alone again. Samson wasn't just his guide, he was his best friend, his protector, and his hero. Together they would continue to face the world, side by side, no matter what came their way. For Max, Samson was more than just a guide dog. He was family. And nothing could ever break the bond they shared.